And chaos isn't always just negative. You can get a very busy person, a very productive person who's work mad or family mad or whatever it is. And in a good way, they've just got loads of positive things, but their mind never shuts off just because they're thinking, right, what's the next idea? I've got to do this, this, and this. I've got to do this around the house. I've got to do this with the kids. So not necessarily negative, but it's an accumulation of a hell of a lot within the mind. And the mind, again, hits the brain. So the brain's overworking, overstimulated all of the time. So at what point do we kind of try to downregulate, in essence, the nervous system, which is, let's calm the brain down a bit.
This podcast was brought to you by Record and Repurpose, because we believe that the conversation should be the content that you're producing, not only to help you be known, liked and trusted by the people who are looking for what it is that you have to say, but also so you can appear in whatever form of content that that person is consuming. Press record right once and get multiple different content assets that you can distribute across your social media platforms. For more information, visit recordandrepurpose.com. Thank you so much for your support. And now let's get back to the episode.
We're back. This podcast is going to be around a specific topic that has many different ideologies around it, but one that I really believe in coaching many different ways because I use it many different ways. And I'm going to bring a word in now. When you hear the word, please don't switch off. Please don't hear the word and think this isn't for me, because I really want to break this down to help you understand how someone like myself and my journey and even what I do now still uses this as such a big tool to help me be the best that I can and to have overcome so much to be the person I am today. So the word itself, bear with me, please don't shut off, is meditation, okay? When I'm coaching it, I slightly pull a twist on that to call it stillness. Stillness meaning we sit with ourselves and we start to sit with this a little bit more, the mind, okay? And whatever else that encompasses. Now, the broader spectrum of this, guys, something that I wanted to talk about today is that everyone potentially has an ideology of what meditation is, okay? And there's some people that will have a one-way vision of what they feel it is, because that's how they do it and that's how they coach it and that's what it is to them. You'll have other people who have an ideology around it because they've heard the word, they associate it with certain things, not really into it, and they've kind of pushed it away. So where I've come at it, I started to meditate and learn how to meditate because of the struggles that I was having from a mental health basis, like the shit that was going on inside my head. I just couldn't cope with, I couldn't live with, and I'd struggled for so many years to even understand how to start to unlock and figure stuff out. And it was a certain aspect, again, if you've heard me in workshops or on previous things, you'll understand that the event that kind of triggered me to lean into it. But it eventually took me on a process of working on this so much. I became such a better person mentally, so stronger mentally, so much more at peace mentally, and all of these things that come into play. Now, what I say to a lot of people and why I don't use the word meditation a lot is because it can put a lot of people off, and it isn't an easy process. It took me a long time to even gain traction with meditation, and I'm still on a journey with it now. I think you can explore meditation in so many ways, and I think that something that I wanted to talk about today is that I do a lot of breath work, both for myself and with clients and in groups. And breath work is a form of meditation, okay? So the ideology behind it is you are zoning into something singular. Okay, so you are zoning in, so you are so focused around the breath, inhale, exhale, how it feels, maybe the time of the breath in terms of the inhale and the exhale, that essentially what you are doing, you are creating such a zoned focus on that ultimately the brain waves start to slow down. Okay, so we start to drop in brain waves from delta to delta, if we've got them the right way around, and we're operating mostly on beta or beta, however you want to kind of speak it. The process is, though, that when we focus in on something, and especially with a lot of breath techniques that are more calming in nature, so a little bit of a longer exhale potentially, definitely a slower breath in nature, a longer breath, a deeper breath, and suddenly we start to slow the heart rate down. So the heart starts to beat slower. We start to feel relaxation. and we're still zoning into the breath. And what we can start to do through that, so when I work with individuals on the breath, it's like, I'm not saying we're going to meditate now. I'm saying we're going to do some breath work now. We're going to do some breath exercises, some breath tasks. So straight away, there's a barrier that's not hit when I say meditation. Yes, obviously, there's something I'm trying to do with the breath, so it is breath work specifically, but it is also a meditation. They are zoning so much into that. And what I get with a lot of people that have never touched or even thought of doing meditation is they come out of a breath work session and they feel phenomenal. And it's not just the impact of what the biochemical elements of the breath work did, okay? It's more that they've just spent 20 minutes or however long I work with them on, detaching from all of this is flying around in the head. All of the worries, all of the stress, all of the issues or whatever life is bringing, positive or negative, it can flutter about and keep in the head and just make the head feel bam, 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 bam. We do 20, 30 minutes of breath work, sometimes 10 minutes. And for that period alone, you are solely focused on your breath. Your brain quietens down. Your brain quietens down in terms of creating thoughts, which then ultimately makes the mind, in my opinion. Differentiation between the brain and the mind is there, okay? The brain, yes, creates thoughts, but when thoughts come up, they then become the mind. I can go into a deeper version of that in another podcast. But then from a different perspective, and I sent this a client a couple of weeks ago, when we were trying to work a little bit on the element of finding kind of peace. So when you do a quiet meditation per se, actually finding the point where thoughts completely dissipate. And the journey of that tends to be you start to go into a meditation and then there are going to be thoughts that come in and out. Might not necessarily be negative. It might be things that you've got to do, might be things that are happening within life. It's just allowing them to pass. It sounds a bit kind of woo-woo, if you like. That's why a lot of people turn off to this, but I hold my hands up. This is something that I've done, a process that I've done, and I highly endorse it. So it's understanding when these thoughts come up, it's not pushing them away viciously and trying to get in like, why am I thinking this? Shouldn't be thinking about this right now. And just because what's that doing? It's just getting caught up in a thinking cycle. So you're getting stuck in your head again. And the aim was actually to get out of the head. Okay? So the thoughts start to surface, good or bad. And it's just about noticing them. It sounds really weird that it's kind of like not emotionally attaching to them. It's not allowing them to create a bit of a conversation in the head, internal dialogue, as I always talk about. Power of internal dialogue, but also the power of detaching from internal dialogue, detaching from the mind for a little bit, going into the body. So with some of the techniques that I use, it's very mindfulness to start with. So 3 to 5 minutes, we'll do a lot of mindfulness aspects. So feeling the air entering, the different temperatures, feeling certain parts of the body through the breath and just through engaging into the body. And the aim of that, again, is just to slow brainwaves down, but also detach and allow them thoughts to not have the impact and the emotional connection that they do. Going back to what I talked about when I was messaging my client, because we were working on this practice, and he'd found moments of where he'd been just doing, he generally was doing kind of the breath meditations or breath work per se. Let's call it breath work. So he's doing the breath aspects that I sent him over to do. And when we do some of the breath holds, I ask him then, do you notice whether you can quieten down from thoughts? And he said he found moments, maybe 20, 30 seconds potentially, where there were no thoughts in his head. He was just lay there on a breath hold or just exhaled and went back to normal breathing in terms of just calm breaths. And he found that this state we're talking about, the essence of no thoughts. You've got nothing in your head. It's clear. It's an amazing fucking thing, especially if you've lived a life of absolute chaos in your head. And chaos isn't always just negative. You can get a very busy person, a very productive person who's work mad or family mad or whatever it is. And in a good way, they've just got loads of positive things, but their mind never shuts off just because they're thinking, right, what's the next idea? I've got to do this, this, and this. I've got to do this around the house. I've got to do this with the kids. So not necessarily negative, but it's an accumulation of a hell of a lot within the mind. And the mind, again, hits the brain. So the brain's overworking, overstimulated all of the time. So at what point do we kind of try to downregulate, in essence, the nervous system, which is, let's calm the brain down a bit. How many times do we give ourselves, other than sleep, other than the process of sleep, whether you're getting 4, 5, 6 hours of sleep, maybe 8 hours of sleep, is that the only time realistically you are giving yourself to quieten the mind? It was an amazing thing. Now, one of the things that I mentioned, because he sent me a message back to say he finds it easier to shut off from thoughts when he visualizes himself sat under a tree. Bear with this. So he was asking me, is that the same thing? And I said, it's not the same thing because you are thinking about something, but it's not to say that isn't meditation, because what you are doing, you are zoning into a specific thing, okay, visualization and image, which is then allowing your brainwaves to slow down and also not to have these flutterings of other thoughts. So what you're doing, you're focusing on a singular aspect. And I related this when I used to go to a buddy centre over in Edgeley in Stockport. And when I used to go there, they got you to imagine an orange ball in your stomach. And I won't go into chakras and all that kind of stuff, because again, as soon as you start talking about that, can put some people off. But I'll talk about it from a buddy's perspective. And they ask you to imagine an orange ball in the stomach and just visualize that. So we used to sit there. Man, you got cars going past, it's in Edgeley, you got a shouting XYZ going on. But the ultimate thing is they're getting to zone into this, and there's obviously reasons of the colour and whereabouts in the body they're asking you to zone into. Study that if you want to understand why. I don't want to dig into that this podcast, but my point being is, for 45 minutes, group of people that didn't really know each other sat in a room, and we zoned in and focused on this point in the body and visualised this orange ball, if you like, or however you want to visualise it. And all these things were going on, but because you were zoning in, you start to detach them and ultimately stop noticing them in a way, consciously noticing them. Unconsciously, yes, we are still going to pick up on thousands of things that are happening around our body, certain things through our senses that we're not consciously aware of. Our body just picks up on it. But that conscious mind, okay, that generally controls so many people, and unfortunately sometimes in a bad way, can be zoned into something so specific, an orange energy ball just burning in the stomach in a positive manner. And then suddenly you forget everything, all the noise that you hear at the start, and you think, I'm not going to be able to do this. That's annoying me. This is annoying me. That's annoying me. Cars are going, and this guy's just shouting down the road. But after 10 minutes of just zoning in, what starts to happen? If you can keep focusing discipline and zone into that point of reference, if you like, for a specific amount of time, the body and brain starts to think, well, okay, so Benny's now just zoning into this point. That he starts to understand this is what I want to do and I'm trying to do. So it'll start to detach from everything that's going on. He'll start to realise, actually, this is Ben's after zoning into that. He's not worried about all this other stuff that's going around. So you've got to train yourself in a way. You've got to train yourself. You've got to train your brain. You've got to train your nervous system to understand what you're doing, which is why meditation doesn't come easy to some people, but why there's also other methods. The other aspect to think about that in, and these are all different ways of breaking it down. If you've got a hobby or a skill or something that you do that you could have heard the element of flow state, and I could do another podcast on the element of flow state because you could break that down in other areas as well. But I bring it into this slightly because I feel sometimes if you are doing something where you find flow state, and flow state for myself just means you are doing it so at ease and so subconsciously that what you are trying to do is being achieved to the highest degree that you could do. Time is slow in your head, but time is going so quick externally. And you're just in flow with it. Like, have you ever been in flow? Absolutely flow. And the element of that for me is meditation, because you are zoned so much into the output of what you are trying to achieve or do that anything more external, there's nothing else going on within the brain, because the brain is solely focusing into achieving that. So I even class that within certain aspects of meditation. And I think that's what I wanted to try to get across within this, which is like, it completely transitioned my life. And I do have a form of meditation or a form of breath work every single day. That's not to say it's just in the evening when I sit down. I've got a beanbag at home. If you see my stories, if you've listened to me speak before, I've got a beanbag at home and sit down, and that's where I do it. Okay, I struggle to sit cross-legged and up, sat right, posture in hips and everything like that from years of training. I'm not supple enough. I started getting pains in my back, pains in my hip. So I think that I also want to make sure that I'm still training to that level. So for me, sitting in a beanbag, nice and comfy, still upright to a degree, is my place to be. But that's not to say through the day I can't find periods of meditation, periods where I'm able to quiet my mind, be mindful, or just do aspects that enable me. It's a training principle. Okay. If you feel that you need to start to overcome chaotic thoughts in your mind, a lot of either negative thoughts that are holding you back and are repeated. A lot of, when I say chaos, not necessarily negative, but just like I gave the example before, positive things going on, but you've got so many ideas around them and there's so many things to do. And it's kind of starting to make you a bit stressed because you're thinking about all of these things. And the element of just thoughts and thoughts and thoughts and thoughts just builds up so much that we do get to the point where we kind of emotionally feel drained, mentally feel drained, or it starts to go wrong. We start to feel down about it. We start to break down the positivity of what that can bring. So it's like, don't, in my opinion, meditation, a form of meditation, I've tried to break down a few different areas there to help you understand. When I say that word, there's so many different ways you could do it. Okay, research it, look out, type it in, different ways to meditate. And there's going to be other people that give so many different aspects and ways to do it. It's untrue. And that's my belief. Like, I've been through so many different ways of understanding meditation. And I've also been through so many different methods of understanding the brain and the mind and the body that I am not singular in terms of this is what it is. I prefer to think, well, okay, I've learned all of these different ways, all of these different methods and ideologies. I'm going to actually take what helps me the best it can. So I love this part of this and I love that part of that. And this really helps me, to be fair. So I'm going to pull this in. So I take from all of these different angles and then create what meditation is to me and then utilize that. And that's the way I coach other individuals as well. Honest, when I say I'm going to take you through a process, but if you find a better way to do it, tell me. If you start to find your own journey with this, tell me. Let's develop together, because ultimately, I don't want to be enforcing you to meditate. I want you to find your own process, okay? And that's why I feel I'm different as a coach. I'm not telling someone how to do something. I give them fundamental steps of how to, but then my philosophy as a coach is they need to build on that. They need to learn, they need to develop, they need to discover. And as soon as they start to discover, they find things for themselves and things that work for them in their life, work for them and how their brain is set up, work for them and how their brain has been programmed and how they're going to start to unwire, or not necessarily unwire, but rewire to the way they want it to be. So if you have got a positive life, but lots of things going on, and you want to stay focused with everything that's going on and juggle it and make sure it's manageable, but not get to the point of stress and quote unquote burnout, which is a word I'm not too keen on. How many times through the day you're just downregulating, spending some time to meditate, to be quiet? That's a powerful thing, okay? If you want to know more on this, guys, I want you to reach out. I want you to email the BeOne email address. I want you to drop some comments if you're listening to this either on Spotify or any of the podcast channels, or even if you're listening to this on Insta, because the more I know that people actually want to hear more on this, I can deliver more. It's an area that I'm truly passionate about, and anyone that's with me on a one-to-one level, I coach stillness. Stillness is a huge part. If you've seen any of the stuff that I do away from BeOne, some of the more potentially extreme stuff, a lot of stuff that I do is about getting someone to sit with themselves. Sit with this. Don't run from this. Sit with it. Don't run. It's easy to run. Some people run from their mind, but they don't always run to a negative thing. They can run to a positive thing. They go and train. Why are they training? To escape something that's going on in here. They go and do the cold or breath. Why are they doing that? Well, they're trying to do it to get away from something in here. Yes, they're good tools. They're going to have a positive benefit to mind and body. You're going to finish and feel good. But ultimately, after a day or so many hours, you start to fall back into the mental trap you were in. That tool has been useless. It's benefited you for a couple of hours, but then you're falling back into the mind that you were trying to escape from. So my whole philosophy, again, I've got a lot of philosophies, is understand the trap. Get out of the fucking trap first. Don't just look for tools. The biggest tool is working on yourself, understanding this, sitting with this, discovering it. Like, what is going on in there? What don't you want to sit with? Why don't you want to sit with it? Where's that come from? How can we start to transition that as a thought process? How can we let go of it? Okay. How can we break the emotional attachment? How can we understand whether behaviors and environments are actually triggering a lot of it? And can we transition that? Like, these are all the things that I would be working on if something in there isn't right, before trying to go and do something externally that may make you feel good yet when you're doing it, a few hours after, maybe a day. Oh, and then guess what? Suddenly you're back in the head, because you'll never escape that. Until you are dead, you will never escape your mind and your brain. They're with you. So why are we not trying to work on that more, discover it more and develop it more? That for me is a process that I'm on a mission to help people understand more. So when I say the word meditation, stillness, breath work, flow state, these are all aspects that can really help you, your brain, your mind, and your life. I hope that's been good. Again, if you want more bits on that, let us know. Even if key sections, I want to know more on that section, Ben. That thing you said there, that means I can jump back on the mic and do a specific podcast on that aspect, because I know people want to know a little bit more. And what I hopefully do, touch wood, is take a lot of the science that I've learned and I've gone heavy into it and break it down into language that's understandable. Because that's where I was on my journey. I was reading books and taking courses and doing all these things, and this information was way above my head. But I stuck with it. And then I started to make it relatable to how I would have taken it on board without having to go to that level of understanding. So when I talk to people now, I make sure it's language that is user-friendly, that's understandable, okay, and relatable. That's the most important thing. Hope that's been good. I look forward to catching you on the next podcast. Be one.